Yeah.
Okay, everybody listening? Cool. All right.
Still.
So, kind of start with the rollout. Uh, Koth is going to play a little bit differently in terms of your heal priority for the rollout. So it's going to start the same as 5 CP, where the demo man is going to get his 260, and then he's going to he's going to go over here. And then you're going to keep the beam on him until he gets 260. And then so demo man, you're going to do this. You're going to come to the door. You're going to put a sticky on the door like this. Surf up like this. One sticky on the floor like that. Jump on top of it. Take the pack. Begin charging up your sticky. Shoot deep into their concrete. It's a pretty simple rollout. So he's going to get 260 out the door. As soon as you guys are able to start walking forward, medic, and you don't have to wait until like the last possible second, because the demo man's going to have a medium pack either way, and he's only taking 2 stickies on his rollout. So as soon as you feel comfortable, you're going to want to start beaming both of your soldiers. And that means that soldiers, particularly pocket soldier, you are not doing this on this rollout. You're just sitting in spawn, and you're gonna wait until you get your 300. Both of you are gonna try to get like as much overheal as possible, and then you're just gonna do this, and you're just gonna do your standard just like roll out to get through like this. Then you can keep walking forward. I mean, you won't have a pack, but you'll have overheal. So if you have the gunboats on, you should still have around 200 by the time you get to mid, and then from there you can get to your default positions. So once you get both your soldiers out the door, then you start just beaming your scout, and then from there you're just gonna walk through like this, and then most teams will come out concrete. Reason being is because that's where their demo is, and a lot of times medics will like to play passively back behind their demo man and pocket scout because the point's not open, so you don't have to walk forward and fight for anything. There's no reason to yet. So I would recommend that you guys just beam your scout through here, and then your medic can hug the back wall here to try to avoid rocket and sticky spam, and then eventually you guys can walk forward and take your defaults. At round start, what I want you guys to do is to kind of go over like the default positions as soon as you're done rolling out. One thing that I want you guys to sort of like engrave in every single one of you guys' mind is do not do anything before the point opens. There is literally no point. Unless the play call executed is to do an early shove or to do an early bomb, like an off timing, please, for the love of God, do not walk far forward or sack or do anything risky until the point opens, because you're basically just making it so that, because the other team is going to default to doing the exact same thing that you guys are doing, which is just waiting for the point opens before a play can be executed so everyone can get buffed, right? So if you guys do something silly, like, you have one of your soldiers like rip a sack through the doorway and stuff like that, not only are you not most likely going to have buffs because your medic's going to be playing passively, right? So you're going to be doing this with 200 HP, but you're also bombing into nothing. Like, their soldier's going to be playing passively in right house, most likely on Seagull, not even holding it. And so you're going to be bombing behind onto a player who's already like set to hold that. And then if you try to shove right house roamer, you're going to be shoving into an entire team on their concrete. So generally speaking, just soldiers don't do anything in either side house until the point opens, and you guys like figure out exactly what you want to do, whether that be before the round starts, on the rollout, whatever. But most of your plays are going to happen after the point opens. So that kind of leads me into your default positions. Flank scout, I like to roll out and just kind of take height like this early on the mid, just so that I can get info, figure out whether or not they're shifting their beam into left house to see if their flank is going to shove. Because usually if their medic is playing there or main, it most likely means that they're buffing both their flank players and they're going to shove left house. So, but just so you guys get an idea of where you guys need to be once the point opens. I'll start with the combo. Pocket Scout, you are the one that's going to have the beam up your ass majority of the time, because you're the one that has to fight for point. You're the one that has to block, which, by the way, blocking point is going to be done from here. You can crouch if you want to, but I would get into the habit of jumping on the point for a couple seconds and then jumping out, because the demo man can very easily just walk around left or right corner, and he can do it from pretty deep too. Like, he doesn't have to be on the point to contest you, and he can just start laying carpets here, so you're going to want to avoid spam by doing that while still blocking the point. Medic, generally speaking, unless the play is to buff both of your flank players who are going to be playing over by right house most likely most of the time. I would recommend that you don't just give up the high ground here for nothing. Like you don't have to drop. You know, it's not this should not be your default positioning just because you're on low ground. You're not able to buff your players as easily without taking vision completely off the point, especially your pocket soldier and your demo man who are going to be playing on concrete. So generally speaking, I'd like you to try to stay within like this like little like realm here. If you do decide to drop, that's fine. But I would honestly recommend you just play back in like main. So just in case they decide to rip a bomb or they shove a house and it gets calmed, you have a sort of like really easy way to just sort of backpedal out and not have to worry about, you know, getting your shit pushed in.
Okay.
So that kind of leads me to Demo Man. Demo Man, generally speaking, you are the most powerful class on this map in terms of damage. Soldiers oftentimes will sometimes out DM you or out DPM you if you know, if your soldiers are kind of playing uncontested in a house just because it's really easy to get immediately on top of the combo and get a shit ton of damage or get some deep range spam in. But generally speaking, you are going to be the DPM cannon for this map just because it's the nature of Koth. And you can do all that from within this little like domain here. This is your stomping grounds here. What I don't want you to do is I don't want you to walk onto the point, especially not when your pocket scout is doing that already. Realistically, I want you guys to try to keep a rule of thumb that there should only be a max of one player on the point if you guys don't own it at a time. Because that way you're just minimizing the amount of spam that all of your team is taking because, you know, the more spread out you are, the less damage everyone is taking in total. So if you see your pocket scout like absolutely like going through it and like denying the point, he's avoiding their demo man spam, whatever, he's like walking forward and getting like 100 damage on their scout or their demo man and then backing up. Try not to cross like this line of scrimmage generally because you can do all that you're good at from a medium distance. That's like how demo man rolls. So generally try to lock out a side of the point, usually left, so that your pocket scout just has an easier time not having to deal with, you know, one of their pocket scout just kind of going like this and you know, touching your pocket scout. So it's going to be kind of like a lane game, and your job is to lock out the left lane from, you know, a distance that doesn't get you spammed easily. Only thing you really have to worry about is sometimes scouts just deciding to say fuck it and pushing deep and committing onto you if you had already taken damage, primarily from spam from their pocket soldier playing in right house. When it comes to the soldiers, pocket soldier, you have a pretty damn easy job for a majority of this map, especially if it's relatively evens in terms of DM level, where, you know, the other team is just trying to push and it's just a continuous fight for the point. You're kind of a FNAF security camera in left house. Again, talking about line of scrimmages, top of this stairwell here, do not cross this under most circumstances. This should be like this should be the at most deepest that you're willing to play so that you still have a method of, you know, using the wall to quickly jump out in case you get shoved. But you can probably already tell from here. Here is just like infinitely more worse of a position than right here, just because of the quick access of the wall to be able to get out. Because it's not uncommon for teams to kind of hide the fact that they're about to shove right house by getting buffs like right here or whatever, so that their medic doesn't have to rotate super far. And then eventually they kind of just like walk forward and will immediately rip a super explosive right house shove from back here before you can even spot that while you're playing deep. So you just want to avoid getting just like jumped in the street. And for that, you can sort of like just not really ever have to put yourself at risk. Because if you play at the top of the stairwell here, you know, you're still able to see into their concrete and their stairs, get spammed on their demo man, potentially their medic if he's playing on concrete too, while also maintaining vision on left house itself. So and you're not deep. So generally, I want you to try to not become a pick in left house by crossing that line. And then from there, you can kind of make the decision of whether or not you think that, you know, left house is shovable. This also allows you to quickly set up a bomb onto their combo on concrete, where, you know, if the call is, let's say your med gets dropped or something like that, or whatever, something happens, you get forced to try to salvage that quickly. If your combo is not able to get in, is you can just do one left wall, one pogo, and then you can try to get as deep as you can. You can do one off the wall there, one off the floor in there, and then one off the ramp here, just ramp slide here, and you can get really deep with it. So generally, it's just a good position to be in. So yeah. Flank, you guys are kind of the playmakers in terms of like, you know, offensive pushes. Realistically, I don't want you guys hanging out in right house. This is not like This is not a good ground to be in for obvious reasons. It's low ground, you don't have a lot of visibility, and their pocket soldier is able to just shoot the wall and spam you guys if you idle in here. So generally, I really only want you guys existing in right house if a play to push, if a play to shove right house is called. Um, and I'll go over like the circumstances that happens. Um, Otherwise, flank scout, it's good to sort of like it's good to be in a fluid position on this map because flank scout, your role is to kind of assist either house that needs help at the time. So if right house is being shoved because their pocket soldier just wants to try to get behind, you rotate to deal with that. If left house is being shoved because it's the more common of the two, you rotate to deal with that by playing concrete with your by playing concrete in anticipation for the shove. So flank scout is the kind of support role for this map, and that means that you need to be listening to both of your soldiers for whether or not they are being shoved or if they need help. Anytime a soldier calls for help in a house, it is the flank scout that needs to react, not the pocket scout or the demo man.
If both soldiers need help, is it a priority? Or
Yeah, generally speaking, it's easier to deal with a right house shove than left, so you should rotate left if both soldiers are being spammed. But that most likely that's not gonna be the case because just like kind of you just got to think about it kind of logically. If one soldier is being shoved, the most common reaction to that is usually to counter shove, whether that be a single soldier or both players. So them shoving both soldiers at the same time and both soldiers being in trouble is not really as likely as you might think. So it shouldn't happen often, but in the event that it does, yeah, left house takes priority because it's where it's closer to where your medic is playing. So players are going to get on top of your combo a lot quicker that way. Um, Kind of piggybacking off of that, if both houses are in trouble or left house is just being shoved over and over and over again by the other team, and even if your flank scout rotates here, it just keeps working. You can actually ditch helping your pocket soldier. You can just tell him to start like literally turbo baiting, just like playing like all the way the fuck like back here or like back here, so that he can just jump out as soon as the shove happens. And then instead of helping him back there, you can just counter shove right house with your flank with your roamer instead. That is like what I would recommend you guys go to if playing to absorb the left house shove is just not working out for y'all.
and that's
And then
flank, right?
yeah,
That
yeah,
would
yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That would be the roamer and the flank scout counter shoving right house. Which that kind of leads me to where the roamer is. I mean, your roamer, the right house is also your domain. You are the one that's going to be jumping this pocket soldier here. Um, it's often good to have your players who are playing on concrete because they don't have to go out of their way to spot this position. Especially Demo Man. Like if you're charging up sticky bombs and you're seeing that this douchebag is getting a little too confident in right house and he's pushing like into right house, like the floor of right house, like all the way up there, you can calm that it's shovable. Because this dude is in the most like catchable position ever. And even though he is a soldier, right, which means that, close quarters, he's going to, have an advantage over a scout. If you just shove two players there, he's not going to live. Even if he gets one, he's not going to get two, which means that you guys will have complete control of a house because he's only gonna be one of them there. And if you execute it fast enough and you kill him fast enough, and the flank scout is not going to be able to rotate in time from his default position to be able to prevent that shove from being successful. So you guys are just going to get control of right house if that's the case. So demo, it's not a bad idea to calm if their right house soldier is playing super deep and suggesting a shove for your flank.
So should Romer play on the roofs?
You can kind of bebop between a couple of positions. It's sort of this. You're kind of rotating from because this is Seagull, so you're kind of rotating from getting spam on the point to getting ready to shove right house. It's sort of a mix between the two. I would just be careful because this can get trapped pretty frequently by a demo. It's very easily spammable. Scout can kind of just like walk forward and shoot you once for like 40 to 50 damage, which is, enough to really bully you off that position. So I would not like chill on Seagull very frequently, but I would use it as like a short opportunity to get some spam if their combo is like not looking at you or it's like it's like off timing, whatever.
Okay.
Also I didn't go over calls, but I don't really think it's that necessary. I'll just start from spawn and go forward. You got grass and this is spawn. In here is called Z. This is elevator. This is big door, also called garage. You got ramp. You got this is wood over here. This is main, lobby, concrete, left house, right house, point. Also called nipple. Pretty self-explanatory comms. It's not. It's cough. It's not the hardest thing ever. Okay. So that's like your defaults. So now you guys generally know where you're going to be. Just to recap, med demo kind of playing in this area here. So, pocket soldier in left house, flank scout and roamer covering right house, and seagull kind of bebopping between the positions. And then pocket scout, you are playing to kind of combat the point. You guys will notice pretty quickly that this map kind of boils down to a lot of DM check. So if you guys are just like, you know, especially your soldiers, if you guys are just winning fights, right, because the other team is just like disrespecting space that you've already established, all the better. So, you know, you guys can kind of like play a bit more confidently if that's happening. Don't the one thing that I want you guys to avoid though is if that's the case, I want you guys to avoid in feeding because, you know, even if you guys are out DMing people, it's very easy for a valuable pick to be generated and an entire team to establish, you know, entire, you know, point fights worth of space off of it. For instance, I'll go over the forward hold next, and I'll give you an example after I explain it. So let's say the mid fight happens. You guys, you know, kind of play it a little bit war of attrition. You wait for them to shove a house. You absorb it. You know, they back off because their shove failed because there's now their soldier or soldiers are dead, whatever. And you guys win the fight. You guys win the point fight. Couple of things that you guys need to keep in mind. There are two situations where a forward hold is good. Obviously, on a full team wipe, you should just automatically, if you have players alive, like not on long respawn timers, you should just, you know, be thinking to walk forward and do the forward hold. If their medic lives and it's evens, you guys need to you can still forward hold, but you just need to expect that they're probably going to try to exchange to get the Ubers out of the way so that they can break out in a dry push and just make it a little bit easier for them. For the forward hold, generally how it's done nowadays is you have your medic, pocket scout, and soldier playing on right side. And then you have usually a soldier playing in main, lower main, to kind of watch that and get spam from around the corner just to make sure, you know, just to prevent anybody from just kind of, you know, jumping past the spam close here and then getting out for free. You have and then you have your other soldier playing around the corner like this. This is a good stock angle if any of your stock players are if any of your soldiers use stock. This is like easier to be shoulder peaked with stock, so you don't have to extend as far because the rockets go to the right. So there's that to consider. Doesn't really matter which soldier takes which position. You guys are pretty exchangeable here. And then for your demo man and your flank scout, probably the only time that those two classes will be seen playing together is you have the demo man lay sticks all along big door here, put him up there, put him here. You can put him on the pack deep in case a soldier tries to like speed shot through and get on top of you. But demo man, you're playing. I like to usually play my sticky bombs, and I actually like to play in the door of left house so that if they decide to shove through and my traps get nothing, whatever, I can still lay like an extra stick or two, or maybe get a pipe on a scout who's walking forward while like backing up and covering my ass, and then eventually meeting my team on our side on concrete. So that's a good position to stay in. And then flank scout, your job here is to essentially clean up off of any damage that your demo man gets on the push out. So let's say if a soldier tries to like walk through and, you know, your demo man dets and gets like 180 damage, you know, you are responsible for cleaning up off of that damage and, you know, preventing them from just completely taking over wood and pushing out right for free. If you want to play on the ground, if your demo man is trapping deep and you want to play to sort of like, you know, you want to play at like this angle and try to get like really good chunk damage to make the kills easier for your demo man to pick up, you can do that too. But again, you know, it falls into a situation of you guys are forward holding, so you already own the point. So deaths when you own the point are bad. It's like the second rule of thumb that I want you guys to, you know, keep in mind is dying when you have point is much worse than dying when you don't have point. And the reason for that is, for those of you who are unfamiliar with how cough works, when you own the point, whatever team owns the point has a longer respawn timer for their team. And so generally it'll be, I think it's 12 seconds as opposed to like 5 or 6. I think it's like double the respawn length. So you generally on the forward hold want to play in a position where you can hold it aggressively. But also, you know, if they decide to send literally all their combat players through, if you can't hold it completely alone, that you don't just become a free pick. So, I generally demo man, I want you to kind of avoid playing, like past, like here. I don't want you like playing like here. It's just too aggressive, and you just risk too much of just getting run up on in case your stickies fail or whatever. So generally, I want you playing in a position where you're not just at risk if they decide to full shove. You guys will probably notice pretty quickly that this game or this map in particular, is just a game of line of scrimmages where you have to just respect space that you don't have the ability to control. And so if you respect those lines of scrimmages, you guys won't become picks.
Not the point capture rate yet.
Yeah. So the point capture rate, or like you mean like
It's just super fast to cap fucking point on bagel, like comparatively.
Yeah, it's pretty quickly. It caps pretty quickly. I'd say less about the actual like speed of the cap, and I would say more so pay attention to denying your players, which is the other thing I was going to talk about in addition to the respawn timer. If your players are dead and it isn't within the first like 20 seconds of point opening, as soon as your team caps the point, if you have players who are dead, that respawn timer goes from whatever number they may be at. So let's say like your demo man dies on the mid fight or whatever, but you guys end up still winning. If he's dead and enough time has passed and then you guys cap the point, his respawn timer gets essentially doubled. I don't know the exact number, but it gets extended, right? And that's called denying players. And you can't deny the other team on this map, unfortunately. So because if they don't own the point and you cap it while their players are dead, their respawn timer gets shortened. So generally, you want to kind of communicate, Pocket Scout in particular, when the right time to cap the point is after a mid fight or whatever the situation may be, so that you don't accidentally deny your medic and put yourselves at like uber disad, or deny your demo man, right? It's just something else that you need to keep tabs on, and it's kind of why I said earlier that Pocket Scout has a pretty challenging. It's probably got the hardest role, but it's for different reasons than 5CP. You just got more to pay attention to, circumstance wise. Regarding the forward hold, generally speaking, if any of your explosive classes are dead and they either get denied or enough time passes to where the whole team respawns before one of those explosive classes is like back up, Pocket Scout, you are going to have to make the executive decision of whether or not you think that you're DM checking these guys hard enough to be able to still execute that forward hold. Particularly if you're down to demo man, I would say the forward hold is always going to be foobar, and I would just call it off. I would play their side of point, which is what you can do. You can play on their side of the point to spot, and then you can sort of kind of get some spam as they're rolling out the door and prevent them from just like walking through the doorway completely for free. Like your soldiers could be playing kind of here, and then as soon as they spot heavy presence in lobby, just jump out. And same kind of goes for main. If you want to like corner peek from this, you have somebody spotting lower for you so you don't get, back shots. You could do that. You maybe get a rocket or two off of spam and then just jump the fuck out and play back on your side. But yeah, generally you need to be, Pocket Scout, you need to be the one to make that call of whether or not a forward hold is like real in whatever the situation may be. So,
okay. So
just keep that in mind.
Based on if we're like out DMing them enough to the point.
Yeah, and it's also based off of who exactly is the one that's dead. If really realistically, if either of your scouts are dead, like just one of them, it's still most definitely holdable. The demo man will just have to be playing and knowing that he doesn't have anybody to clean up all of his damage at the moment, so he'll just have to like. Usually, what I'll do is I will ask my Pocket Scout to kind of be playing, like just like here, because the Pocket Scout's not super important during the forward hold because it's all explosive classes denying them from pushing through a doorway. So realistically, Pocket Scout, you're only kind of there to get your medic out in case they bust through and the forward hold fails. So if you playing here allows you to kind of be in a position to help out your demo man and clean up off of spam while not like distancing yourself too far from the medic. So Pocket Scout can kind of take over for Flank Scout temporarily. So Flank Scout being dead does not mean that the forward hold shouldn't happen, and same with the Pocket Scout. But it's really only when your explosive classes are dead are you going to have to sort of make that judgment call.
And the only explosive class that, like, if they're dead,
Just don't bother.
Yeah, don't bother
Would be
his
would be
demo.
would be Demo Man if by the time he rolls out they've already pushed out. Yeah.
Okay.
Again, it's going to be based off of how long it takes them to respawn, and how fast they actually move to push out, whether or not they actually even like bother pushing out like left in the first place, because there are teams that just won't even try bothering pushing out like Big Door because it's so easily holdable by Demo Man.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's all going to be based off of whatever the circumstances. So that's pretty much the forward hold. It's not super complex. There are times where in evens, it's good for a soldier to sit here with a beam up his ass, just getting a shit ton of spam, seeing if maybe he can get the force off on their team. And if that does happen, if they do use, I don't want the soldier to be in this even Uber exchange. I don't want the soldier to be in this Uber exchange. So soldier, if you're getting really, really, really good spam and you see that they're playing like super close to you and you know that it's evens, just jump out. Just jump out and leave that exchange to your pocket scout and your medic so that he can keep the beam on solely one player so that the Uber is better for you guys. Because think about it, like if your soldier is, if you're getting good spam here in lobby enough to where they walk forward and just decide to use out or whatever, or if they just walk forward like this, there's a good chance that they are just going to exchange. You being there and getting flashed means that the damage that you're doing and forcing their medic to flash their players is kind of negated. You know what I mean? So, just kind of make that call like, okay, their lobby, whatever, I'm getting like 60, 80 damage rockets, whatever. Okay, yo, shit, they're walking forward. Just like rocket jump back to Seagull and just play it safe. Kind of leave that up to you. But when the exchange happens here on the right, you don't necessarily have to back out with it, especially if it's better for you guys and they need to flash a bunch of people. So if the exchange does get taken and you guys want to try to like stick around here, your players need to be ready to play for the post, which means that your players on the flank, your demo man and your flank scout, need to kind of like stay on their side over there and not really, become picks, because there's a good chance that while the exchange is going on through concrete doorway, their flank is probably going to try to get out through here. It's most likely just going to be their flank scout who's taking advantage of the exchange to try to like get a pick, maybe just like get through an established space, maybe try to get some damage on the demo, whatever, bully him out from under here. But generally speaking, the exchange should really only involve the pocket scout and then the pocket scout calling in his soldiers for the post, if that makes sense. So just try to stay out of it, soldiers, and stay as healthy as possible so that exchange can actually work in your favor in the post. Because the more players they have to flash, the worse the Uber's going to be for them, which means that, the less confident they are in being able to take space. So and then, of course, obviously, Pocket Scout, while that exchange is going on, you're looking for any players that are not involved in the Uber so that you force them to flash. So if you take that exchange here and you see that they're taking it in on their Pocket Scout, shoot soldiers, shoot their demo man, whatever, just ignore the Uber players. Just don't even pay attention to them. Shoot everybody that's not involved in the Uber so that their medic has to turn around and flash them. That way you can actually stick around and, the idea of staying here in the post actually does exist. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much it for the forward hold. There's really not too much else. Off-classing on this map, not real. It's just not. It's not really something that you're ever going to want to do. Sniper is really shit on this map. Engineer is not needed on this map. It's really terrible. Spy is really, really only good if you are like just absolutely getting fucking shit stomped and you just need something to generate like a med pick or something like that to try to walk forward and take point. But generally speaking, off classes on this map are not real. They're kind of fake. So I want you guys to kind of get comfortable playing your role on this map instead, because there are really no, our pocket scout is like sucking dick, so he's just going to go play sniper permanently and own the point. That option does not really exist on this map, because it's really easy for soldiers to just bomb, or like just like rocket jump through doorways and stay out of your sight lines, because this playing here is outside of a sight line. Playing on point here, generally it's not hard to avoid a sight line. Your demo man is really the only one that's going to be at risk of a sniper peeking on concrete or whatever, but it's really not hard for a demo to kind of spot deep a sniper and then just like avoid, you can just play around the corner and just corner peek. It's just not a real class for this. It's probably actually Sniper's probably one of the weakest off classes for this map. For the classes that are commonly off classed in sixes. So that's the forward hold. In terms of, does anyone have any questions about the forward hold actually before I move on? Everyone kind of understand what they need
I
to
don't
do?
know if you were getting to it, but how would we go about breaking a forward
How'd you go about what?
hold? Breaking a forward hold.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that.
Okay.
I got a quick question. For flank demo
Yeah.
and the flank scout. So
Mhm.
the post, then what do you do in the post? Do you go all the way around? Do you go straight into concrete? What do you do?
You guys aren't going to concern yourself with the post. It's not necessary. It's because I
So
mean,
choky at this point.
realistically, if the post is stayable for you and your pocket scout, your medic, and both of your soldiers, that's enough to clean up. Because most likely, what's going to happen is, if your soldiers get calmed in and they actually do what they're supposed to and they don't take damage, because the Uber is going to be better for you guys anyway. There's a good chance that enough damage will be generated to where they won't even be able to stay on concrete in the first place. If you think that the damage is not all the way there with both your soldiers and your pocket scout, who still has lingering Uber, demo is not the one to rotate. Demo is going to be you can rotate your flank scout to go help with the post, maybe peek, maybe try to get through main or whatever and try to play for the post on concrete. But demo, you are the reason why they can't push out through through big door. So you're not going to be the one to rotate to help deal with that post because worst case scenario is both of you guys turn to deal with the post and then their flank just gets through left for free and then you have to give up the forward hold anyway. So yeah, you just want to avoid getting flanked, and so you always have to leave at least one person dealing like looking and managing left door at the time because that's just the demo man's job. So if the flank scout wants to clean up in the post, just calm that to your demo man. Say like I'm getting in for post, and then your demo man can just I don't know just play in the exact same position that he would be standing in anyway. And just play there with the anticipation that he doesn't have a flank scout helping him in mind. But yeah, demo man will not be involved in the post, but flank scout can be. You just need to tell your demo man that you're doing that. Or if your pocket scout calls in that he wants everybody in the post, that's everybody minus the demo man. Just keep that in mind. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You just don't want to leave a big door open because while it's hard to push out if there is while it's extremely hard to push out if there's a demo man here, as soon as you take the demo man out of the equation, it's free eats because the soldier can just rocket jump through for free, whatever. And if you only have one scout holding this, it's not enough to deny a doorway because he's not an explosive class. Like he's good at denying soldiers that are trying to jump through on top of your demo man, but when it comes to everything else that follows the soldier pushing through first, it's he's just gonna die. So okay, if that's it for the forward hold, then I will go over breaking out of the forward hold. There are two different ways that you can really break out of the forward hold, and it depends on what the Uber situations are. If the Ubers are evens, that exchange on concrete can actually still work, but this time you can make it work in your favor. Instead of having all your players walk forward and stuff like that, it's really not uncommon for teams who are close holding like this. It's not uncommon for pocket scouts to just call that they want to bait out the exchange, which means that you take your medic and your pocket scout to walk forward like this, use around the corner, get in deep on the medic, force him, and then immediately leave. And nobody else needs to be involved in this. Nobody else needs to really, be there in that because as soon as you take the beam away from your pocket scout, his ability to get that to like force that exchange is just it's not there. It just becomes less and less and less likely the more players that you have involved in that Uber. So generally you want everybody to stay out of it. Another thing that's really common pocket scout to do is if they are holding this like tight as hell and it's evens and you still want to try to get that exchange, you can take it in the same, but you can actually tell your medic like I'm going deep with this, like bait me, which that just means like you are at any cost trying to get the force off or get the med pick or whatever. And bait me just basically means like no matter what, I'm not holding the S key medic, and you need to be the one to like decide when you're gonna take the beam off me and then bait back into our lobby and link back up with our players. Kind of like a fucking like kamikaze. So that is a valid play to get the evens out of the way on while breaking out of the forward hold, and then from there, if the evens exchange does happen and the Ubers are no longer in play, it's much that kind of opens up the two doors to be able to push out for you guys. So after the evens are done and out of the way, pushing out of right is pretty self-explanatory. There's going to be sticks all around here. Generally, you don't want to broadcast that you're trying to push out of right, so medic, you can kind of stay hidden here. You want to try to avoid pushing out through ramp because it's the easiest fucking thing in the world to see. Your demo, even their demo man all the way back there can see it. Like, oh yeah, their beam's going left. Like they're going to try to push out left, and then their teammates can prepare for that. The defenders can prepare for that. So
Sorry, that looked like a really good position for a sniper for breaking a forward hold. Is that ever done, or is that just bait?
I mean, it's not. You mean just as like a one-off thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the worst idea in the world. It's probably the only situation where I could like actually support going on sniper. But the only real problem with that is on sniper it takes forever to get back into spawn to swap back off. And while you're on sniper, if it's a scout going there, you lose the ability to get your med scout speed to get out the door. If it's the flank scout, you're missing the player who's supposed to be on the flank watching your lobby, right? If it's a soldier, you lose one of the players who can bomb through and make space. So it's a big sacrifice in the context of pushing out, because you're either giving up one of your very important flank players to make sure that you guys don't get collapsed on as soon as you make space out here and take wood control, or it's one of the players who has the ability for your medic and shit like that to make space and get out so that he doesn't get trapped in lower here like this and big door to where he's more susceptible to a bomb. So there's a trade-off. It's not a particularly bad idea though to kind of like immediately peek it, and then if you hit the shot, immediately swap off and have your team push forward, because obviously that demo man there, if you get that pick, is going to have a long respawn timer because they own point. So it's not the worst idea in the world, but I wouldn't stay on sniper in this circumstance. Like I would peek it, and whether or not you get the pick, immediately go back to swap, because otherwise it's just not. You're just gonna have much harder of a time establishing space, if that makes sense. And also, I really shouldn't have to point this out, but if you're gonna do that kind of like one-off sniper play, just don't do it on evens, because you're like. If you do it on evens, you don't have the ability to get the exchange done, because if your flank scout is not comfortable playing pocket scout and like playing with your medic or whatever, it's just bad. And then if the pocket scout is on sniper and the other team decides to just push in and get the force, right, to force that evens, it's just much worse. So you want to try to stay on the off class for as little time as possible. But it's not the worst idea in the world, and since you guys are playing in a lower div, it's probably going to catch a lot of teams off guard if you decide to do that when trying to push out. But regarding actually pushing out of right, you'll have your demo man. You'll want to take it through Z, take the beam through Z, obviously, to avoid getting spotted as easily. You're going to want to generally have your demo man clear traps off the doorway, and you can do that by doing this. So you take it through Z, whatever, and then you kind of just do this, just air det stickies. That way you can clear sticks off the top. I mean, the most common place they're going to be is up here. That way, like if a soldier tries to like jump through once like this, you can just dead it and kill him. So try to clear traps off the doorways like that so that your scout doesn't have to do it alone, because your scout doing it from here and clearing it like this, he's more susceptible to spam from the demo man like that. So you just want to make it easier and as fast as possible to get out. And then after that happens, soldiers, you can do kind of two things. One of the things that my soldier really liked doing in advanced was he liked to get buff as our team was making their way into Z, and then as soon as our demo man would call that the traps are clear, he would play all the way back here, and he would just get through. Unfortunately, I'm not apparently good enough at the soldier class to hit that speed shot, but he would just do that and hit the speed shot to get through onto wood, and then the rest of his team would follow him. So that's one option. Additionally, you can just walk with your team into Z, get your buffs, do whatever you got to do, and then you can just get through. Whatever rocket jump you best see fit, and get through like that. Get on top of their demo man. Just do whatever you got to do. Just try to make the space. It's actually good if you do it from back here. If you learn to do the jump through off the wall here, just because it's just generally faster. I don't really play enough of the class to know it, but doing it from here is like the most like obvious fucking thing in the world. So I would generally you want to try to be explosive as possible when it comes to busting out of the forward hold as a soldier. That way their demo man is more he's kept on a tighter det timing. So, but yeah, you jump through the doorway, and your goal here is not to necessarily live. If you can bait out the det and get the sticks, and even if you die to it, that's still good because it just allows for the rest of your team to get through the doorway. So. You are kind of like you're kind of the bait there for the demo man to scare him off, so that because he's like the main threat in terms of pushing out a big door. When it comes to pushing out a big door, after your soldier makes space and you walk through like this, scout, P scout, you should not be focusing on either of these players because their flank scout's going to most likely be playing up on height, and their demo man's going to most likely be playing in the door to left house or right house. Ignore those two players. You should be looking up immediately. Your eyes should be glued to the sky because what most soldiers will do is they will, as soon as the comm gets made that your team is trying to push out of big house on the forward hold, most soldiers will be sitting here on concrete with a medi beam up their ass with 300, immediately waiting to C-tap and then do one off the wall and then high bomb like this and land on your team as you guys are trying to push through. So you should be spotting that immediately as soon as you push through. And you can do it while still keeping tabs on the players to your right. Like you can still be like looking up and like seeing whether or not their flank scout is staying or not, whatever. And that also means medic. Just because your team gets through, that does not necessarily mean that it's safe for you to just walk through and follow them like a mother hen style. A lot of times soldiers will delay their bomb to make it think that it's safe for the medic to walk up. And then as soon as that happens, then they execute their bomb after like a delayed timing and their medic can get dropped. So again, Pocket Scout, you should be looking up and making sure that their soldiers are not, just like corner bombing you guys. And as soon as you clear that and that that's not the case, then from there you can kind of like walk forward and take height again, bully them out, whatever, reestablish space, and then it just becomes another mid fight. Okay. Soldier, if you jump forward here and you live, it's not a horrible idea to just stay here. That way their demo man can't re-peek through the doorway here, and their pocket scout feels less inclined to want to stay here. Because if he sticks around to try to get you as a pick, he becomes a pick himself. So generally, if you just establish that space in the first place, most players' reactions are going to be like, "Oh fuck, well, no time to back up because the forward hold didn't work." So it's not a bad idea to just kind of like exist in wood here. You don't have to like immediately get through and then immediately jump them and whatever. You can just your presence there is enough of a deterrent to have them back off. Demo man, in this particular case, your role is to bully that flank scout off of height. You don't really have to walk through. Same deal with your medic. You shouldn't be immediately following your flank scout through the doorway. You can kind of be idling here and just like quarter charging your sticky bombs to deny their flank scout from being able to play super far forward, and then just making it easier for your soldier and your scout to walk forward and take space. Just less people to deal with on the push out. You can kind of just like, what the fuck? You can kind of just like, your soldier bombs through, whatever. You have 260 while you're here, and then you just kind of like idling like this, like that. Do what you got to do. Maybe lock out right so that demo man doesn't try to re-peek it, whatever, and then you can walk forward. That way, also, you're playing in a safe position similarly to your medic, where you're not just going to get corner bombed and become a pick to a soldier sacking onto you. And you can still be just as effective in what you're doing from back here, and then eventually you can walk forward like this and start to deny them as players are trying to leave and whatever. So, yeah, so that's how to push out a big door. Any questions about anything that anyone else needs to do, like the flank? Because the flank in general is just staying in lobby and not becoming feeders. Just exist here so that the counter shove doesn't happen. You just play like right here. It's primarily a scout. I've seen teams have both of their flank players play in lobby. I wouldn't recommend it. I would honestly rather have 2 soldiers bombing through here, because if you have 1 soldier bomb through here and he baits out the det, that's great, and then you have the second one to bomb through here to actually establish the space. Realistically, if you get out here, especially if it's evens, because the Ubers are not in play here, most teams are not going to stay on concrete in this scenario. Like their combos are not going to stay here if they realize that you guys have busted out of the forward hold and established space on wood. They're going to back up. So you don't ever really have to worry as a flank player about a team like walking into you in lobby. However, flank scout, if that does happen, just tell your team that and have them play to lock out the other team from where you think that they're going to come out from. So if you're playing in lobby, whatever, and your team pushes out on the forward hold, and it's good. If you're playing deep, by the way, like here where you should be, it's not hard to just like not get killed by their team, even if they're shoving. So you can still get that calm off. But if the other team is shoving back, into your lobby or whatever, and you guys are making space here, it's not the worst idea to actually take the aggression to their side. So what my particular pocket scout liked to do in advance was when we pushed out here, if the comm was that they were like counter shoving the flank like en masse, like they were taking their beam behind or whatever, we would actually push into their right house and bully out their players who were trying to leave on the flank. So their demo man would become a free pick, the flank scout would become a free pick, and then from there you can kind of just like play to anticipate their team from walking out. So there's a couple of things that you can do, but generally speaking, you're not going to ever have to worry about that because most AM players are going to be like, oh shit, my flank scout and demo man, their forward hold failed. Time to back up to our side. So you just basically want to be playing here as like a hall monitor. That's pretty much it. In terms of busting out through left door, it's definitely viable. The main thing that you're going to have to worry about, though, is, again, you're going to have to worry about soldiers counterbombing, particularly from main. If the comm gets made from their team that's deep spotting that they're trying to bust out left, it's not uncommon for soldiers to just do this and land super, super deep in and try to, like drop your medic or whatever. So again, Pocket Scout, it's going to fall on you to, after your soldiers establish the space, be already looking up and anticipating that there might be a soldier around the corner. However, it's not hard for a soldier who is going to be busting through here in the first place to make space to calm that. So soldiers, if you bomb through here, it's not you should be also spotting for that. Like you get through and then you spot and you say, yeah, there's a soldier corner bombing, and then the comm gets made and then their soldier feeds because he's an idiot, and you guys now have a pick to take even more space off of and be more aggressive off of. So it's gonna all kind of fall into place when you guys play the map more, but a lot of this map is going to boil down to communication between your pocket scout, because he's going to be calming a lot more than usual because it's just kind of in the nature of this map. And then also it's going to boil down to making play calls and taking advantage of your DM if you have the ability to. A friend of mine has a flow chart for this map in terms of what certain positions need to do. I can see if I can dig that up, but the problem with flow charts in general is that they're generally a rule of thumb, so everything is kind of subject to change, but it's still not a bad idea to know generally what the idea is per situation on each of the maps. I'll see if I can find that and post that in the reviews channel. But yeah, so you send both your soldiers. It kind of follows the same format for breaking out of big door. You send one soldier through here like this. Get him through, cause the other team to want to back up, focus their attention on the soldier, whatever, your bait, and then eventually take space off of that and bully their team out of your concrete, and then eventually it just becomes another mid fight. It's really not all that complex. Again, I already mentioned that the only thing that you really have to worry about and look out for is that soldier corner bombing you guys, which now that you guys are all aware of it, I'm assuming that if a soldier tries doing it, that you guys will be prepared for it. But, you know, at the same time, you guys are also playing an amateur. So, you know, like easy, simple plays like that higher div players play might not even happen, and it might make it even easier for you guys. So, but I still want you guys to get into the habit of checking for those kinds of things, just because, you know, they will exist. Like one soldier at some point is going to try to do that. So, it's better to just check it even if there's nothing there. And then obviously, just like it's the flank when pushing out of left, when pushing out of concrete is it's kind of vice versa. You are playing so that their flank does not counter shove you. This time you're not playing in lobby, you're playing in Z, so that you know their soldier or whoever doesn't just instead of corner bombing around, you know, he might try to do this and like, you know, full go behind, whatever, do this, get on top of your combo through elevator. You're basically just there to prevent that from happening, flank scout. So, and then, yeah, obviously you're waiting for the comm that you guys have pushed out and made space. Like, okay, we're through, and then you can walk forward yourself, and all is right in the world. So, it's kind of it for the pushouts. Does anyone have any questions about the role, or you know, like what happens? You know, any if scenarios?
So we shove two. We should be shoving 2 soldiers out.
Yeah. No matter what side. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
One of the things I remember from playing Bagel before is that Beam is going to be up Pocket Scout's ass as much as possible, so soldiers prioritize pack over med heals as much as possible, I think, right?
Yeah. Kind of building off of that, less about just taking packs, but I would say everybody aside from the Pocket Scout and to an extent the Demo Man, you guys should just focus on not taking unnecessary damage in the first place. So, like, negate the necessity to even need to get a pack in the first place, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is, right, like, you're absolutely right. Yeah, Pocket Scout is going to get a beam majority of the time, and a lot of the time he's going to, like, need it. Like need it, especially if he's fighting for point and eating spam. So, it really applies to your explosive classes more so than anything else. Particularly, it applies to your Demo Man more so than anyone else. You guys kind of need to understand that Pocket Scout is only really able to do what he's able to do if he's healthy. So if you know, you are constantly asking for an arrow, or you're unhealthy and you're asking for a beam, right, and you're taking that away from your Pocket Scout, that's not just taking the beam away from your Pocket Scout, that's taking his entire ability to be able to combat the point. Now, like, really good Pocket Scouts will be able to fight for point without needing a beam, you know, on them a lot of the time. But, you know, you guys aren't at that level yet. So, you know, just keep in mind that, you know, you taking heals away from your combo means that fighting for point basically becomes impossible for that brief stint that you need, like an arrow or whatever. So the more damage that you can avoid taking, the better. And what that means for like the combo itself, Demo Man, it's the reason why I want you playing on concrete in the first place. If you play on concrete, you're not taking that easy, really huge chunk damage and taking the beam away from your Pocket Scout. But, you know, shit happens. Sometimes you'll eat spam. Sometimes, you know, you'll get walked up on and get shot, whatever. If that happens and you need beam, Pocket Scout, you need to be, like, keeping tabs on the health of your team, because the health of your team and whether or not they absolutely need heals, because sometimes the shit happens and they will absolutely need heals to be able to keep playing and not giving up house control, right? If that happens, you need to kind of like read the room and understand, like, okay, my players are unhealthy, I need to like back the fuck off a point and chill for a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like let's say if your Demo Man eats like a carpet or whatever and he's like he's like 60-70 health, right? You need to understand, like, okay, my Demo Man is obviously going to need heals here, so I'm just gonna play back here. I'm just gonna let them walk forward. You know, the point will be uncontested for a little bit. Tough shit. You know, I need to just not, you know, take damage, because it needs to kind of be like an alternating thing where your Scout fights for point, Demo Man supports him. Scout becomes unhealthy, Demo Man does not walk forward as a result because the Scout needs to get healthy. and then he can fight point again, and then he can walk forward as soon as your scout gets healthy again, and you can help him fight point. Demo man, gets unhealthy for one reason or another. Scout walks off a point and the demo man gets healthy. It should be running like clockwork. It's not very difficult to get used to. It's not very difficult in theory, but sometimes it can actually be difficult to get used to. Sorry. So it just kind of comes with just like game sense and good comms between players. This map is really calm dependent. So. The other thing also is if you calm to shove right house, know that both of your players absolutely will need buffs here, particularly the soldier. So if you calm to your flank like yo, we should shove right house, like that soldier's getting too greedy, he's too deep. You need to like understand that the beam is not going to be on you for the next like 4 to 5 seconds because your medic is going to be healing your soldier to 300 and getting your scout as high to 185 as he can. So just like back off a point. I see a lot of scouts feel the need to constantly be contesting point because oh my god, they're going to get cap time if I don't. It does not matter. Like yes, the point does not take a long time to cap, but it also doesn't take like. It's not like gully wash lasts. Like you stepping off the point for like 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds is not going to mean that they're going to guarantee a cap against you, especially if it's only their pocket scout that's standing on point. So just don't feel the need to constantly be like fucking like bloodshot eyes crazed playing on the point if you're trying to execute a different play in like a house or something like that, because you guys will realize pretty quickly that owning house control is actually a lot more valuable than owning the point. And I know that sounds kind of weird because the point is what literally wins you the round, but having complete control over the house means that they lose half of the fucking playing field that they would normally have to be able to actually contest and hold said point, right? Like it's not, think of it like a last hold, right? You basically, every last hold gets split up into 2 different areas that both teams play on. But in this case, it's split up like this, where you have one team on this side, one team on this side. If you control a house, right, that line becomes less of splitting the map in half, and it becomes more like this, where you have just like an entire huge like extra like quarter chunk of the map at your disposal that they just basically can't do anything about. So they have to respect that space. So, in theory, if you have that space and you have that house control, that basically just means that you are able to take point essentially for free. Because if they try to walk forward here, right, if they try to contest point, all you have to do is just take advantage of whichever house that you have control of and collapse on top of the combo as a result. Like it's not hard for a soldier to literally just like after taking control, get healthy, walk through this, and then just pressure from super deep or shove and go behind and put more pressure on the combo, which makes them unable to stay far forward. Like if a soldier gets calm behind because they completely lost right house control, the reaction to all of their team is going to be, oh shit, we need to like back the fuck up because we don't have the ability to like hold that guy and prevent him from bombing us while also fighting for the point, right? So it just. I hope that like logically makes sense to y'all about how important house control is. So fighting for the point 24/7 and becoming a damage sponge is just not necessary half the time, particularly talking to Pocket Scout. So we'll see. I have faith in your guys' DM ability to where if a play gets called that you guys are going to shove a house, that I think that you guys will be able to take it pretty easily. And then from there you guys can kind of just play. Play with the space advantage that y'all have, and it'll be fine. So we talked about pushing out of the forward holds, talked about forward holding, talked about play executions on mid. You guys know not to do anything before point opens. You guys know about denies. You guys know about cap time. You guys know about. Talked about off classes and how they're not really real. I don't really think that there's too much else to go over. So you don't have any like specific questions, like class specific questions, or just like team questions about whatever.
Should soldiers ever be going like bombing over point, or should they always be bombing through houses?
Yeah, that can happen. Soldier bomb over point is the circumstances that's going to be valid. Or like the best possible play at your disposal is going to be kind of weird, and I think it's going to be dependent. It's not a play that I would say that you guys should execute round one. Reason being is because, obviously if both your soldiers are bombing over point, that's both of the classes to hold house, right? So if you guys don't get their medic out of that, that is catastrophic for your team. So I would say play around. Soldiers kind of act as feelers to figure out how aggressively they're playing in both of your guys' house, whether or not they're just basically sitting there waiting for y'all to do something, or if they actually are being proactive in the houses and they're shoving left house consistently or whatever. And then kind of from there, you can make the judgment call of okay, their soldiers are doing fuck all in house. We should take advantage of that and double bomb across point and just have our medic bait. That way we can just be at full Uber ad to push out, right? So yeah, that's definitely a valid call, but it's all going to be dependent upon how aggressive their players are. Because if their players are shoving your left house consistently, or they're playing in a position to counter sack or whatever, really, or to counter shove really, really fast or whatever, it's honestly better to just play passively and just counter shove their house. Like I said before, the most common house that another team is going to initiate a shove on is going to be right house, because it's just easier to get your players healthy and just explode out onto the pocket soldier there. But in the event that they're just not shoving this at all, yeah, it's definitely not a horrible idea. The only reason I don't really like it that much is because there's not a lot of good places for your pocket soldier to bomb on across point. Your roamer has it a little bit easier, where you can get buffs and then you can do this. But unfortunately, the pocket soldier just doesn't really have that ability to do that. At most, he can kind of do some shit to actually pogo off point itself, where I don't even remember what it is. They removed the boxes that used to be there where you could do it off of. But generally speaking, if you're gonna bomb soldiers across point, have it be a staggered bomb. But as a result, a staggered bomb, if you remember, we talked about it in 5 CP. You have one soldier bomb, and then the other soldier waits about a second or whatever, and then immediately follows that up with the same bomb. It can be from the same spot. It doesn't really matter. But again, since that's the most valid location for a soldier to bomb off of, you have to kind of take into consideration that you're completely giving up house control, both of them. So the rest of your team needs to kind of be playing to account for that. Generally, it's pretty much the only play where I would actually recommend that your medic play to bait out of big door. Because generally this positioning doesn't seem great on paper because it's low ground, right? But in actuality, it's not that bad, because he actually has a lot of vision. And if he plays all the way back here and he plays to bait, and your flank scout is playing how he should, where he is kind of playing to prevent you guys from getting flank shoved. Generally, it's actually not too unsafe of a position. Your pocket scout has all the fucking time in the world to look at and deny these bombers, or just have his medic bait back even further, and you guys have your flank secured. So if you're gonna execute a double bomb across point, it's actually better to bait your medic through here, because it's the hardest for them to be able to counter sack onto your medic onto, because at most, if their soldier is playing lower here or whatever, or he's playing right house here, this soldier is useless here. He can't do it. He can't do shit, right? And then their pocket soldier, at most, he can shove this to get deep like this, but it still is going to take a while. So unless literally the only effectively quick counter sack that they can do is if their soldier is already playing outside of right house in the first place, and just does the same kind of bomb to get deep on top of you guys. But again, the likelihood of that being the case is just non-existent. So it's not a bad play, but again, you just need to make sure that your medic, your pocket scout, and your demo man are playing debate accordingly. Okay. Otherwise, name of the game is just shove houses. Just take over house control. That idea, that lingering presence of you is he in left house? Is he behind? Is he gonna shove behind? What's he gonna do? Is enough to make teams fear, and that is a really powerful fucking advantage to have over the other team, of just the advantage of space made and surprise, and them not knowing exactly what you're going to do with that space that you made. So, I can't think of anything else.
Do you do 4-mans on this map?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, right, the format. Oh my god, I can't believe I almost glossed over that. Okay, full disad, and they are forward holding you guys. The format generally is always going to take place out of right door, out of big door. The format out of here is just not real because you are going to need to buff your players like here, and if they have somebody spotting that or whatever, or they know that you're going to try to sack through here, a lot of teams will honestly just keep the beam on their pocket scout or their soldier or whatever, and then actually just like push in with the Uber and just like destroy all of your players. So generally, it's a better idea to just take the 4-man through here, buff your players here in spawn, so that they have absolutely zero info about where you're pushing from, and then eventually just getting through Z like this. It's actually going to be, the 4-man's going to be on your demo man's go as opposed to your soldier busting forward and breaking out like that. So demo man, it's not the worst idea in the world to kind of get used to clearing these traps from Z like usual, but then what I like to do on this map in particular, this is a pretty good 4-man sack. It involves a pretty simple single pre. So you come here, right? You know, you clear the traps, whatever, and then while you're here, you do this. It's not. It might look a little weird and a little awkward, but it's really not that hard to like consistently replicate, and you can do it from all the way back here. You know, you don't have to worry about walking all the way forward and like putting 2 stickies down like this and worrying about dying to like uncleared traps or a scout walking forward. Like it's not. It's really, really fast, and you can get really, really, really deep off of it. So once your demo man does that, chances are these players are going to be like, holy fucking shit, he's like flying, and then you guys can break through for free. And then also try to rip that sack. In this case, it's just going to be soldiers. Just use whatever means you can to try to get as close as possible. And then obviously flank scout, you are the weakest player in a 4-man sack. So yeah, generally most of the forces in the 4-man sack are going to occur from the demo man and the soldiers. So flank scout, you're just looking to see if maybe you can get like a pick, maybe get in, you know, in case your explosive class is fluke or choke rather. Yeah, but this is a good thing to practice. I would definitely try to get good at this. And that's kind of the only place that 4-mans are going to happen, to be honest. You're never really going to be able to get deep enough in lobby on full disad to justify 4-manning out of main or left. So all 4-mans should realistically just take place out of here.
I fucked that up. Would it just be screwed?
No, not necessarily. I mean, you personally might be screwed, but that doesn't mean that the 4-man is gonna fail. And you don't have to do that, by the way. You don't. It's good, and it'll 100% catch an open player with their pants down. But you know, if you feel uncomfortable doing it or whatever, or you'd rather just put 2 sticks down, then you know, fuck it, right? Who cares? Again, it's really just boils down to, you know, if you don't clear the traps properly or whatever, you know, you are the first one through the door because you are the one that initiates the 4-man. So it's just, you just risk dying. You just risk dying off rip anyway. So yeah, it's whatever. But yeah, I mean, the 4-man calls are pretty self-explanatory on this map. They're always going to be whenever you have significant disad, because if it's close to evens, most of the time what most pocket scouts that I played with have done is if it's like within like 20 to 30% of just becoming evens anyway, they'll just build it out and just force the exchange and just get the Ubers out of the way so that they can dry push out. It takes a little bit extra time, but you know, it negates Ubers, you know, just like getting Ubered onto or having your Uber be like significantly worse while you're trying to push out evens, and then just, you know, causing you to have to completely full reset anyway. So yeah, that's the 4-man. I mean, just call it on your time. Demo man, be communicative of when you're getting in, and make sure that your pocket scout and your medic are baiting all the way back to spawn through Z as soon as it's happening, so that you guys don't die. It's pretty simple. I explained a lot of different stuff but in reality, because of the fact that most of the other people that you're going to be playing against are also going to be learning the fundamentals of this map, unique plays and play executions and stuff like that are most of the time not going to be very necessary for you guys. I feel like if you get the bread and butter of this map down of house control, shoves, four-mans, and just the general flow of fighting for point with your guys' DM capability, I don't think you guys will have much issue playing against most other teams on this map. Resorting to needing to do like flashy stuff like and whatnot. I think you guys will generally be able to play pretty standard Koth, Bagel, TF2 instead of having to be like, oh, like we need to like, bait to shove our soldier behind, or we need to play so that our fucking we're gonna shove fucking like left house with our pocket soldier instead. It's just a lot of that shit just won't be necessary, because the beauty of it is like you guys are kind of inexperienced div enough to where even the shit that is like seen as like normal or pretty like run of the mill for Bagel is still like, if you guys do it fast enough, it's still probably going to catch other players off guard. So it'll still probably work out better in your favor anyway. But yeah, that's kind of all I have to give about this map. I don't think there's anything else necessary. Playing to expect the four-man, by the way, is kind of basically just, be aware of the Uber situations. Medic and Pocket Scout, communicate and say like, yo, like, we have full Uber at here. Expect a four-man. If they don't four-man, we're going to try to take in and on them aggressively. It's not a terrible idea to just like, Pocket Scout, if you spot that their beam is like deep in lobby for whatever reason, which would be a throw by them, but you can whiff punish that by just being like, yo, just use in, and then just like kill a bunch of people who are not going to have Uber saving them. Not a terrible idea. Just bear in mind that if you do decide to use an aggressive Uber while you have ad, your priority should be to kill the medic, because if you don't kill the medic, even if you get combat picks, you're still going to be at full disad anyway. So, and they have the shorter respawn timer. So combat picks are not as important if you're going to take an aggressive Uber in while you have ad. Okay. You're going to want to treat it kind of like a pop and catch on 5 CP, where, okay, we have ad, like priority should be killing the medic as soon as possible so that we can maintain that ad even after using our Uber. Okay. Yeah, that's Bagel. You guys are going to realize pretty quickly that a lot of the shit that I talked about are not going to become very relevant, because a lot of times the teams that you guys are going to be playing against, and you guys are probably going to default to just like, I don't know, see bad guy, shoot bad guy. It's just going to become a lot of DM checks most likely, as it is with all like lower div teams. So we'll see. But I do think
Actually starts to happen in like
well,
higher divs.
I mean, that kind of applies to literally like any whatever format you play, right, of comp TF2. But DM is a lot more, like you ask any experienced player and they will tell you that DM is a lot more important for this map. But that doesn't rule out the fact that even if a team has better DM than you, if you call more effectively and you call better and your team like does better play executes given the circumstances, you can still win maps against teams that are just like that just have better raw DM skill than you. Because it's like, what does that raw DM skill mean if they're always at Uber disad? Or what does that raw DM mean if they don't know how to break out of a forward hold? It's like there are a lot of good workarounds for like strategically to work against a team that otherwise would just like DM diff you on Spire. So take it as you will. But yeah, no one has any other questions, and that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Yeah. Best of luck with it. Pocket Scout, Drew, you're probably going to want to kind of... You're going to be the one that's probably going to have the checklist of shit that you want to like work on the most out of anybody, because everybody else's role is pretty linear in this map. You're the one that's going to have to try to like herd the sheep. So
Okay.
if you need like advice or whatever, or you're like struggling with certain parts or whatever, just like jot it down, and then just like you can either ask me or I can ask somebody who has even more experience than me what they would do instead. Just let me know.
All right.
Because there will inevitably become situations where you're like, I don't know what I should have done there instead.
Yeah. All right. Will do. I'll let you know.
All right.
Thank you though.
Nice.